A federal jury has awarded $500,000 to the widow and estate of a police officer who killed himself 9 days after he helped defend the U.S. Capitol from a mob of rioters. The jury ordered 69-year-old chiropractor David Walls Kaufman to pay punitive damages for assaulting Metropolitan Police Officer Jeffrey Smith inside the Capitol on January 6, 2021. The judge presiding over the civil trial dismissed Aaron Smith's wrongful death claim against Walls Kaufman before jurors began deliberating last week. U.S. District Judge Anna Reyes said no reasonable juror could conclude that Walls Kaufman's actions were capable of causing a traumatic brain injury leading to Smith's death. On Friday, the jury sided with Aaron Smith and held Walls Kaufman liable for assaulting her 35-year-old husband. An encounter captured on the officer's body camera. 3 men were found dead after jumping into water at Rattlesnake Falls, a popular hiking spot in California's Placer County. Authorities say the men had not been heard from since entering the water and were recovered days later. The sheriff's office described the terrain as extremely remote and difficult to access, with high winds and strong water currents disrupting the rescue effort. A diver tasked with locating the bodies described the challenge of navigating the hiking spot as brutal. The identities of the deceased individuals have yet to be released. A 26-year-old Brazilian tourist, Juliana Marines, fell over 1,000 feet into an active volcano in Indonesia after her guide abandoned her during a hike on Saturday. Despite initial reports of her survival, rescue efforts have been hindered by poor weather and extreme terrain. The family is requesting urgent assistance as the search continues. A late-night shooting in Pittsburgh's East Liberty neighborhood near Garland Park has left at least 5 people injured by gunfire, with several others suffering grazed bullet wounds. The incident occurred on June 23, 2025, at approximately 10:27 p.m. UTC. Details about the shooter and their motives are still unclear. The Last Burrito Gallery restaurant in Jacksonville closed abruptly on June 23, 2025, after nearly a decade of operation. The fast-casual Mexican eatery at Brooklyn Station thanked customers for their patronage with signs taped to the doors. This marks the end of the Jack's Mex concept 20-year presence in the city. 3 other Burrito Gallery locations closed since November 2023, leaving this as the last remaining spot. The wife of suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez, Robin Lynn Severance Lopez, was arrested and taken to the Lake County Jail on a felony charge of conspiracy use and invest proceeded from racketeering. This is in addition to her husband, who has been jailed since June 5, with a $1 million bond for charges of racketeering and conspiracy to commit racketeering. Prosecutors claim Marcos Lopez was involved in an illegal casino enterprise in Lake and Osceola counties, pocketing cash and using it for campaign funds. The U.S. Air Force's B-2 Spirit stealth bomber requires pilots to undergo weeks of preparation, including nutritional education, to perform missions that can last over 40 hours. The aircraft demands extraordinary endurance from its 2-person crew, who must be aware of how nutrition affects alertness and digestion during intercontinental flights. Pilots are trained to eat bland foods like turkey sandwiches on wheat bread to maintain alertness and avoid digestive issues in the single chemical toilet on board. The B-2's cockpit includes a small area for pilots to lie down and rest, but refueling is done blind, relying on visual cues from tanker lights and memorized reference points. A United Airlines flight from San Francisco to Rome issued an international distress code and made an emergency landing in Reykjavik, Iceland, on June 22 after experiencing a mechanical issue. The Boeing 777 plane was carrying 275 passengers and 14 crew members when it descended rapidly to 21,000 feet before diverting north for the emergency landing. No injuries were reported, and the passengers were provided with hotel accommodations while awaiting a new flight to Rome. A man who filmed himself raping a vulnerable woman in Leicester has had his 6-year sentence increased to 9 years after senior judges ruled it was unduly lenient. Gagandeep Gulati, 20, sent videos of the attack to others before falsely claiming he was the victim. The Court of Appeal imposed concurrent sentences for assault by penetration and sexual assault and quashed the charge of sharing an intimate photograph or film due to a procedural error. A hepatitis A outbreak has sickened over 2,000 people and caused 9 deaths in 4 popular European vacation destinations: Austria, Czechia, Hungary, and Slovakia. The virus is highly contagious and spreads through fecal-oral transmission, often via contaminated food or water. Urgent travel warnings have been issued for the affected areas, with health officials recommending vaccination before traveling. The recent transformer fires in the UK are just the tip of the iceberg, experts warn. The country's power grid is facing a crisis of old equipment and poor maintenance, which could lead to widespread outages and blackouts. The problem lies in the fact that many substations have not been upgraded or replaced for decades. With some transformers dating back to the 1960s, these old devices are prone to failure and can cause significant damage when they do go wrong. In addition, the lack of modern safety features and monitoring equipment makes it difficult to detect potential problems before they become major issues. The UK's power grid is also facing a shortage of skilled engineers and technicians who can maintain and upgrade the network. This has led to a backlog of maintenance work, which could exacerbate the problem if not addressed soon. Experts warn that the recent transformer fires are just a warning sign of a larger issue, and that the UK's power grid is on the brink of collapse. They call for urgent investment in upgrading and replacing old equipment, as well as improving maintenance practices to prevent future failures. A search continues for one person still missing after a boat capsized on Lake Tahoe, killing 7 others during a sudden thunderstorm. 10 people were on board the 27-foot Gold Chris-Craft vessel when it flipped Saturday afternoon near D.L. Bliss State Park. 2 people were rescued immediately and taken to a hospital in unknown condition. 6 bodies were recovered later Saturday, and a 7th body was found Sunday evening. The storm surprised forecasters, with winds topping 35 miles per hour and waves swelled more than 8 feet. Lake Tahoe is a popular summer recreation destination for boaters, kayakers, and paddleboarders. A recent report by Global Citizen Solutions ranked Spain as the top destination for American retirees, citing its great health care, low taxes, and high quality of life. The country's capital, Madrid, is also considered one of the best places to work and live for professionals. Monthly living expenses in Spain are estimated to be around $2,000 to $2,500. Portugal ranked second on the list, followed by Costa Rica, Uruguay, and Mexico. These countries offer a range of benefits for retirees, including affordable climates, tax breaks, and accessible visas. The Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to restart swift removals of migrants to countries other than their homelands, lifting a court order requiring them to get a chance to challenge deportations. The decision came after immigration officials put 8 people on a plane to South Sudan, but later diverted to an American naval base in Djibouti due to a judge's intervention. The court action exposes thousands of migrants to the risk of torture or death. According to Justice Sonia Sotomayor's dissenting opinion, the Trump administration has pledged to deport millions of people living in the United States illegally as part of its sweeping immigration crackdown. Pope Leo has doubled down on his anti-war sentiment, releasing a viral tweet condemning the U.S. strike on Iran. The tweet emphasizes that war does not solve problems and amplifies them, causing deep wounds to people's history. It also calls for diplomacy to silence weapons and nations to chart their futures with works of peace. The tweet has garnered widespread support from Twitter users who praise the Pope's stance as a sanist voice in international politics. Researchers analyzing samples from the asteroid Ryugu, collected by Japan's Hayabusa 2 spacecraft in 2020, have discovered an unexpected mineral called fischerite. This finding challenges previous theories on Ryugu's composition and suggests that materials with different formation histories may have mixed early in the solar system's evolution. The discovery was made using field emission transmission electron microscopy, FETEM, and has opened new questions about primitive asteroid evolution. Tesla's stock jumped over 9% on Monday after the electric vehicle maker started testing its long-awaited robotaxi service in Austin, Texas. The trial marked the first time Tesla cars carried paying passengers without human drivers. Analysts and social media influencers praised the experience as comfortable, safe, and personalized. However, industry experts have raised concerns about the efficacy of Tesla's self-driving technology, which relies on cameras and AI without redundant sensors like LiDAR and radar. The company will need to navigate a new Texas law requiring a state permit for self-driving vehicles, set to take effect in September. If Monday's gains hold, Tesla's market value could increase by nearly $100 billion. Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah, has called for Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to step down and face justice. Pahlavi made the statement during a press conference in Paris on June 23, 2025, where he also announced his readiness to help lead Iran towards a democratic transition. The move comes as the U.S. and Israel have launched airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. Jenna Scott, a 39-year-old chief operating officer in Georgia, was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer age 31 despite being fit and healthy. Misdiagnosed symptoms during pregnancy delayed her cancer diagnosis, complicating treatment. She expects to undergo treatment for the rest of her life to keep the cancer at bay. After receiving the diagnosis, Scott's life quickly became full of doctor's appointments and scans, and she had to stop working on larger projects to focus on her health. She started chemotherapy in August 2017 and underwent 11 months of treatments and surgeries. By 2021, she was on a lower maintenance chemo dose to keep the cancer at bay. However, by Christmas 2022, the cancer had spread to her lymph nodes, and she had to start treatment again. Scott's medical bills were a nightmare, with expenses totaling $3,000 per month. Her husband set up a GoFundMe page that raised over $30,000 in just 17 days. Today, Scott's cancer status is non-detectable, but she expects to be on maintenance chemo indefinitely. She works full-time and tries to stay busy to take her mind off the tough treatments. U.S. President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire between Iran and Israel after a limited missile attack by Iran on a U.S. military base in Qatar, retaliating for the American bombing of its nuclear sites. The 24-hour phased-in ceasefire will begin at approximately midnight Tuesday Eastern Time, giving the two countries 6 hours to have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions. There were no casualties reported from the attack, which Iran said was a response to the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend. A massive leak involving nearly 10 billion unique passwords has been compiled and is now circulating in cybercriminal forums. The RockU 2024 file, originally compiled last year, has been updated with recent breaches. To check if your credentials are exposed, visit haveibeenpwned.com and enter your email address. If you reuse passwords or haven't changed one in years, assume your credentials are vulnerable and take steps to protect yourself. Update important account passwords, use a password manager, enable two-factor authentication, 2FA, and consider using passkeys when available. Jonathan Joss, a 59-year-old voice actor for the animated comedy King of the Hill, was shot and killed during an alleged argument with his neighbor in San Antonio, Texas. The incident occurred on Sunday night, with eyewitnesses reporting a heated argument between Joss and Sigfredo Alvarez Sega before Alvarez Sega allegedly pulled out a gun and fired multiple bullets. Joss was pronounced dead at the scene. A new report by Health in Partnership and Manufactured Housing Action reveals that corporate mobile home park owners are neglecting these communities, hiking rents, and putting residents' health at risk. The study documents contaminated water, failing sewage systems, accumulated debris, crumbling infrastructure, and extensive mold, leading to respiratory problems. Florida's Mobile Home Act provides some protections but seems insufficient in addressing the issue. Residents face a desperate situation with limited affordable housing options, often having to endure hazardous living conditions rather than face homelessness. A new study by an international team of researchers found that bedbug populations exploded when humans began expanding across the globe and building cities. The pests thrive in urban environments where they can spread quickly among human hosts. While not directly harmful, bedbugs can cause discomfort, insomnia, and poor well-being. Warmer temperatures and higher humidity levels accelerate bedbug life cycles, contributing to their rapid increase. Columbus police have found a black pickup truck believed to be involved in a crash that led to a large fire on the northeast side of the city. The semi carrying fuel overturned on I-270 south to State Route 161 east, causing the driver to flee the scene. No arrests have been made at this time. The tanker driver is in stable condition after being taken to Riverside Hospital. Thai authorities seized more than 2 metric tons of crystal methamphetamine from a tourist boat in eastern Thailand, arresting 8 men who allegedly attempted to smuggle the drugs through the southern border. The estimated value of the drugs is over $90 million if sold abroad. The drugs were packed in plastic bags disguised as cornflour packages and were discovered before they could be smuggled out of the country. The universe's first light emerged about 380,000 years after the Big Bang, when the cosmos cooled enough for atomic nuclei to glom onto electrons. This allowed photons to travel freely, marking a significant milestone in the universe's evolution. Prior to this, the early universe was too hot and dense for light to move around. Vidya Srinivasan, Google's VP GM for Advertising and Commerce, oversees $66.9 billion in ad revenue. She believes AI is transforming every aspect of advertising today, enabling perfect creative ads to be generated on the fly. This shift also brings a new shopping experience where consumers can describe products they want and see AI-generated versions. Srinivasan's past experience at Amazon Web Services helped prepare her for the challenge of bringing AI to advertising. Tesla Inc. rolled out its long-awaited robotaxi service to a handful of users following almost a decade of hype from Elon Musk, kicking off a precarious new era for the carmaker. The service was initially tested with some online influencers who were invited to take a ride. A human safety monitor rode in the front passenger seat. This marks a significant step towards autonomous driving and could potentially disrupt the transportation industry. The Italian region of Umbria has been named the most underrated luxury destination in Europe by CV Villas, a London-based travel agency. With an underrated luxury score of 94.67 out of 100 points, Umbria outranked other destinations such as Biarritz, France, and Paphos, Cyprus. Known for its charming medieval towns, centuries-old Roman architecture, and local cuisine, Umbria has been dubbed the New Tuscany. The region's ranking was determined by analyzing travel reviews for top attractions in 50 lesser-visited European destinations.